Welcome to Food and Founder, where we talk all things recruiting, hiring, business, and entrepreneurship. Today, I have Alicia Lewis with me. Alicia is a fractional sales leader with Chameleon Collective, founder of Noble Partners, and chief member. Welcome.
Thank you, Caroline. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
So I'd love to hear your story behind starting Noble Partners.
Well, it's a good one. I never thought I would own my own business. I've had two career lives. I started in the hospitality space, working for Hyatt Hotels, working my way up. I did that for a little under 10 years, finished my career in Chicago as the associate director of events at Chicago O'Hare. And I decided I needed a change in life, moved to Los Angeles, and started in the health and wellness space. So I started with a company, Styku, that was a body composition scanner, and really started from the ground up with them and built out their commercial side of the business, landed their first enterprise deal, worked for them for right about 4 years, and then started with previously Theragun, now Therabody. And I built out along with another member of the team, the fitness side of the business, and then went on to build out the B2B hospitality side of the business. Finished with Therabody, and I closed and had an LOI for two of their largest deals in the hospitality space, United Airlines and Massage Envy. And then I really took a look at what my skill set was and what I really enjoyed doing. And that was building relationships, building out teams, putting in process, and really kind of starting at the ground level. And both of those companies, I started at the ground level and was really excited to see what they did. And at that point, they were more well-oiled machines, and my expertise wasn't needed as much, right? And so I really think that is where the world's going. If we really look at fractional leadership, these incredible executives that come in as a CMO or a chief sales officer, they're building the building blocks for then the team to run it. And it's a lot cheaper for companies to not have full-time employees. So I ended up leaving Therabody. I took a few thoughtful months and I decided to start my own company. I had a feeling that was the direction I was going, but I really wanted to take some time to spend time with my family, to spend time doing things I really loved and enjoyed, and then focus without having that constant ping of emails or Slack or communication that you need. And I decided the marketing world had really taken charge of this fractional leadership, and I felt like sales was a little bit behind. So I felt like there was a space to create my company and really come in as a fractional sales leader, come in as a strategic consultant for companies that had specific needs, with health and wellness being my niche. So in March, I started Noble Partners, and it's been incredible. And then I recently was accepted onto a prestigious platform that you introduced, which is Chameleon Collective. And I feel so honored and privileged to be on their platform. It's an incredible consulting platform that houses about 150 incredible executives that I feel crazy imposter syndrome sitting alongside. But yes, that's kind of a quick snippet of my story.
So tell me more about what exactly it means to be a fractional sales leader. Like, do you come in just project based? Is it month by month retainers? Like, what does that model look like?
Absolutely, Caroline. It can look a few different ways. So it can be a company that is looking to revamp or build out their sales process, their sales team, their entire sales strategy. And it can either be on a project basis. Let's say they really need help to dial in their distributor strategy, or they really need help to dial in their entire commercial strategy. And so I really would look at that piece, that business, and look at it on a monthly retainer basis. And as we're meeting deliverables and executing on these deliverables, we then understand what the time capacity could be. And then if you're coming in, another way that you can come in as a fractional leader, let's say it's a company based internationally and they need someone from a leadership level to come in inside of the United States. I typically start at a 3-month commitment and contract with this company, because you really need 3 months to dial in what's going on, to see what's needed, to make any sort of change. And then after those 3 months, reassess and look at, do we want to continue on a month by month? A lot of times with having that leader inside of the United States, it could look like a year-long commitment of you're coming in and you're putting together the strategy as well as helping with execution. So what I try to do is truly understand what their needs are. Transparency is my favorite word. I always say, let's be transparent of what we can and can't do, as well as if they need something I cannot do, I now sit on an incredible platform that I can find other individuals that can come in and do those things for them.
That sounds like such an amazing resource. I don't think I realized the magnitude of the Chameleon Collective scope. And so thank you for sharing.
Absolutely. Yes, it's amazing. And they have an incredible infrastructure and community. So you start your own company and there's times where you feel, for me, lonely. You don't have that person to look next to or call. And also when you're starting your own company, there's SOWs and contracts and PowerPoints and accounting and billing that they really oversee and have a great system and infrastructure that I also get to utilize. So it's super helpful with a lot of those daunting tasks that are really hard taking on starting your own company, especially if you were used to being at an executive level where potentially you haven't done those things before.
That was my next question to you is prior to starting Noble Partners, I mean, you were the VP of sales at some really big companies and transitioning from being in a big corporate company where, like you said, you do have all the processes and the blocks in place. I mean, it's a 180 to go from a corporate gal turned entrepreneur. So in addition to having that resource, I mean, how have you been able to navigate kind of the entrepreneurship path right now?
So I am going to be very vulnerable with this answer. What I've realized is I can really put together and execute a strategy like this. It has taken me 2 hours to figure out putting a picture inside of a document and lining up spacing and doing different things like that. Prior to joining Chameleon, I was working on a contract, and no joke, I think it took me 2 hours to make it look pretty, as you would say. And I was questioning my abilities. I was like, I should not have my own company. I cannot even get these margins correct. So I would say the few things in all seriousness. I love doing it. What can be a little scary. Definitely that ongoing consistent paycheck is not there, right? So you build out a great book of business, and let's say you have monthly retainers or project-based work. All of a sudden you have an incredible 2 months, and then that potentially can drop off. So you're constantly having to do business development. I love doing business development, but at the exact same time, you can't guarantee where your next paycheck is going to come from. So I love the scrappiness of owning your own business. And at the same time, it's also the same thing that keeps me up at night. So that would be something that I would say navigating is different. Even figuring out insurance, once again, vulnerable statement. I had an insurance broker that led me down a few different paths that I will not get into, but it was something that I didn't realize was just always at my fingertips with HR. You take for granted, you have 3 informational sessions on picking insurance, and you go and click on it and you have the best coverage out there. So, there's just a lot of things that you have at your fingertips with a larger corporation that you really have to navigate as an entrepreneur.
Being vulnerable of this podcast, I mean, I'm party of one doing all the editing, everything, and I did not have to do any of it. And in the beginning, especially on the editing part, I seriously want to throw the computer out the window. I was like, I don't know how to make this wave or MP3 file or whatever it means go into this hosting system. And so I've had moments where my husband is just like, okay, we just need to have a glass of wine and like not talk about this right now. You need to cool
Totally.
down.
That's when you just need to hire an influencer to do all your editing. I've realized, I was like, oh my gosh, these people are they work harder than I realized.
I've definitely thought about that several times. So, as you continue your entrepreneurial founder path, what do you see most beneficial when it comes to scaling? I mean, do you plan on hiring in-house employees? Do you plan on scaling using, contractors? And you don't have to have everything like the cookie cutter answer for me here, but just kind of what is your plan right now?
No, that's a great question. And the beautiful thing about owning your own business is you can pivot at any time. But I will tell you what my current plan is. I have found that there is a gap, especially in the hospitality space, of boots on the ground workers. So right now I am looking to potentially build out a workforce of 1099 employees that would work for me, but not on a full-time basis. And that's really probably in my current 2 to 3 year plan of really finding people that align with that type of work and have the means to do so, because also it's not as consistent of a paycheck. But there's a lot of incredible people in this space that have incredible relationships regionally. I have a great network on LinkedIn. And so I've really been reaching out and utilizing that network to potentially build out this side of the business. So I'd say that is my current trajectory for the company. At this point in time, it is just me. This is an idea that I do have in place that I'm actively working on. And who knows for the future? I would love to say one day I built out a small team that would be incredible, and I would feel very much like I've created a sustainable business. And at the same time, for me today, what's really important is to work with companies I believe in. I really enjoy working with innovative companies to see what's out there and bringing them to the space. And what's most important to me about bringing them to the space is they're solving a problem that really needs to be solved. And a lot of times, even these large players don't know these types of offerings, diagnostic tools, et cetera, exist. And opening their eyes to them is incredible. The world we live in today, companies are searching on how to differentiate themselves and how to provide the tools that everyone is in dire need and searching for in the wellness space. So I just feel really fortunate right now to some of the companies I've been exposed to and lucky enough to work with.
And even as you mentioned, some of the companies that you worked for in the past, maybe they started smaller and they're huge now. And I mean, the larger they get, the more resources that they need. And that's amazing that they have a partner like you to reach out to as they continue to scale too.
Absolutely. Yes. And my biggest takeaway from my career and life lessons are build relationships and never burn bridges.
That's a good one. And I completely agree about that one. So what advice would you give to someone who's on the fence about going out on their own?
Oh, I would say, I want to be very thoughtful with it, because there's been moments that I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this. I need to go back to corporate America. I would say take a chance. Really identify what your superpower is. That's something I'm learning from Chameleon Collective. Everything is, what's your superpower? And I've realized how impactful that statement is. So identify your superpower, identify what you're really good at, what you really enjoy doing. Because if you're going out on your own, enjoy doing it, because it's going to be late hours. It's going to be a lot of work. So make sure it's something that doesn't feel like work all the time. And I would use your network, use your resources. I'm part of the women's organization chief. I actually reached out to one of the other members that was close to one of the founding members out of New York, and she was a fractional CMO and had just this incredibly impressive resume. And I had spoken to her a few times, and I was like, can I do this? And she was like, absolutely. What you have to do is identify what your niche is. So, like, my niche is business to business, health and wellness sector in the sales space. And it doesn't mean it can't translate into other sectors or industries, but really understanding what you have done, what you have created, and what you can scale. Being able to scale your business is incredibly critical. And I say this specifically in the sales world because salespeople, we say a lot of things and we do a lot of things and we can't replicate them. I'm very much guilty of that as well. So finding a scalable product, which is something that one of my mentors taught to me, is really, really important. So bounce your ideas off of people. Use your network, utilize LinkedIn, utilize any other platform you're a part of, and really just believe in yourself, have faith in yourself. Don't get hung up on how hard it will be or what you can't do, because the longer you can't do something, the longer you're not doing something. And if you're actually thinking, I want to start my own company, put the resources in to do it, because otherwise you're going to live in regret. And I always say one life to live. So let's live without regrets and try it. And you might fail a few times and pivot and many different things. My company is not well ironed out yet. I'm still understanding what's coming to me and understanding what I am best at. My pitch is still, I'm tweaking it every single day. And that is just what it's about. It's okay to not have it all figured out, but just understand exactly what your superpower is and deliver it.
I love that. And everyone has a superpower. I mean, everyone's 10% better at something fill in the blank, whatever it is. And so that's why you're put on this earth, to share that with this world. And it sounds like you found your niche and you just continue to grow. So that's amazing.
Thank you so much.
So as we wrap up, how can our listeners find you?
Absolutely. So I am on LinkedIn, Alicia Lewis. I also have a website, www.noblesalespartners.com, and that is NOBLESALES partners.com. And you can also email me at alicia@noblesalespartners.com.